Hello, in this video we're going to talk about how to graph your CO2 data from lesson 5.1.1. And first thing you want to do is you want to open up an Excel file and you'll want to type in headings for your various columns here. So I've got mine in columns A through G, and you might find that your heading takes up too much space. The columns start out about this wide, and if you want to change the width of the column, you can just drag it like you just saw me do. Another cool trick is if you put your cursor right here in between these two columns and you double click on it, it will make it exactly the right size for whatever you need to put in there. So I'll show you some fun Excel tricks along the way. Okay, so I typed in my time, my temperatures. Let me show you another trick over here with time. When you're typing your time in, 0, 5, 10, we're going every 5 seconds. So there's a pattern here. So Excel will recognize that pattern. So if you highlight the numbers you typed in so far, and you go down here and you select this little box in the bottom right hand corner and drag it down, it's going to repeat that pattern for as long as we want it to. So this is really helpful if we need to have a very big data set, like 300 seconds or something. So we have two trials probably, and so what we want to do is average our data sets first. And again, there's a way of doing this in Excel that's going to be faster. There's several ways of doing this, but here's the way I like to do it that I think is the fastest. So I'm going to click on the box where I want to find the average, and I'm going to hit the equals sign on my keyboard, and I'm going to type in the word average, and I'm going to do the open parentheses, and I'm going to highlight the numbers that I want to average, close parentheses, and I'm just going to hit enter. And now we have an average temperature. And then if I go back and click on that formula I just generated, and once again you can see in the bottom right hand corner of where it's highlighted, there's this little box, and when I move my cursor over it, you see how my cursor changes shape. So I'm going to hover my cursor over that little box. I'm going to click it, so left click it, hold that down, and drag it down. And what that does is drag the formula all the way down. So now, like, if I click on this box, I'll see that that box is the average of those two numbers off to the left. So we just did a really fast average. I'm going to do that again over here. I'm going to type in average of these two numbers. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and click on the bottom right hand corner, hold that, drag it down. So now I have my data all entered, and I want to generate a graph. So the easiest way of doing this is to go over and I want to select time, and I'm going to select my data by clicking on the column header. So I'm going to go over here to the box labeled A, and I'm going to click on it. It's going to highlight the whole column. Then I'm going to hold the control button and go over here to the D, click on that. While I'm still holding the control button, I'm going to go over here to the G and click on that. So you should see that all three of yours are highlighted. And go over here to the insert, and I want to go to the little one that looks like this. It's called a scatter plot, and I want to choose this option right here for my scatter plot. Okay, so now I have a scatter plot. It doesn't have a very exciting title, so with the title here, I can double click on this and I can make an exciting title. And notice my axes are not labeled, so I can add an axes labeled. When I click on the graph, this little menu will pop up to the right. If I go to the plus sign, I can click on axes titles. I check this box. Then now I all of a sudden have these little axes titles. And here again, if I just double click on it, I'm going to make a title for my y-axis, which let's write down what it is. This is my temperature, and that is in degrees Celsius. And then my x-axis is my time in seconds. So we should be including labels with relevant units. And then my graph, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between these two lines because they're so squished together. So it can be helpful to change the scale of your graph. It doesn't need to start at 0. My lowest temperature is 21 degrees. So what I can do is, if I click over here, you see I'm on my y-axis here. If I click on it, it's going to pop up this format axis menu, and you can probably find this other ways as well. But I'm looking for this format axis menu. And again, I got there by double clicking on these numbers right here. So I just messed up by trying to do that again. Let me try that again. So format my axis. And my minimum doesn't need to be 0. I'm going to change it to 20 because I don't have any temperatures below 20. And then that makes my trend a lot more clear now that I've kind of zoomed in on it. So there we go. And then let's insert a trend line. So again, if I go back here to my graph, click on it, this little plus sign is going to pop up. Click on that, go down here to trend line, and it's going to give me two options because I've got two different data sets. So I'm going to say, okay, let's do the low CO2 first. There we go. I've got a trend line. Now I'm going to do it again. Whoops. High CO2. There we go. Let me add another one. Which one do I need? My low is the one that's missing. Okay, there we go. Now I've got them both in there. And in this graph, I can pretty clearly tell that my high CO2 had a larger temperature change, like it's a much steeper graph. But if it's hard to tell on yours, another thing you might do is if you go back to your trend line options, you can go under more options and hit OK for whichever one you want to do. And it's going to pop up some more options over here to the right, so trend line options. And what we can do is we can display the equation on your chart. And what that will do is, oops, let me make sure this is for the right graph. Okay, low CO2, this one goes down here. So that looks like my blue line, which is the low CO2, has a slope of 0.14. And then we could do the same thing for my orange line, and we could compare the slopes. So that would tell us that, the steeper slope means the temperature is going up faster. So we're seeing, did it make a difference adding CO2? Did the temperature go up faster, slower? Did it stay the same? And you're just going to write your conclusion based on the data that you have, and then we'll share our class data with that tomorrow if you feel like yours is inconclusive. So that's what we need for the graph. And then what you can do is if you just click on the graph and you can hit Control-C to copy it, or you could use your snipping scissors tool down at the bottom of your page to copy your graph, and you're going to paste this over into your OneNote with your lab handout to turn in. All right, and let me know if you have any questions. You can stop by Tutorial in the Morning.